his eye match was good, and he found a few fresh bolts of exactly the same type in a drawer. The store manager knew which bolts the engineer should have been looking for, but the engineer chose to ignore his advice. Instead, he drove to the other side of the airport to find a match for his bolts. It was now about 5:15 a.m., and in a dark corner of the hangar, he continued to search for new bolts identical to the ones he'd taken out of the plane. But in the gloom, his luck finally ran out. He thought they matched, but they didn't. He picked bolts that were just over 200 of an inch too narrow for the job. Returning to the 111, he stretched over the plane and began fitting these new bolts. Working at an angle, he couldn't see that the new bolts didn't fit correctly. Signing off at 6 a.m., the engineer had managed to get his work done in time. The plane was now ready to be handed over to Captain Lancaster and his crew. In fact, it was a disaster waiting to happen. The morning of the next day, the 111 was at 17,300 feet. The difference in pressure between the steel hull of the jet and the thin atmosphere was climbing quickly to the half ton per square foot, which reached 35,000 feet. This pressure was looking for weakness, and it found it. For coming, finding out what had happened that night is only the first step. No one had hidden from him what they'd done, but he knows that he has to go deeper to understand the reasons behind this horrific sequence of events, why the engineer did what he did, and whether this was an isolated incident or the symptom of a bigger problem.
Actual certification of an aircraft comprises two parts. First part is what's happening, and that's usually relatively easy. The second part is why did it happen?
Why did the engineer ignore procedure, bypass the technical manuals, and ignore helpful advice? Cummins' search for the answers was in its own way revolutionary.
If we talk to people without getting information, we felt we get more information. Because they'd be freer to discuss it. If we gave them a formal portion of that, we thought that they would dry out.
How was the journey? They decided to talk to the engineer well away from the hangar in a cozy hotel room. To gain insight into the methods of the maintenance engineers, Cummings then does something no one had done before. He brings in a behavioral psychologist.
You see aircraft normally in the hangar when you're doing that.
Psychologists have been used before to analyze why pilots make mistakes under pressure. It's a discipline called human factors. But in 1990, using human factors in engineering was unheard of.
I wanted a professional stance on what is really psychological territory. I would hope that as far as the ship maintenance manager is concerned, that it gave him extra confidence that we were trying to even hand it, and that we were trying to get the problem.
When you get the bolts out, do you go straight to the fast casual, or do you just usually? I've got a set of screws up, I just go up the calzone. Right. You find it's easier to do it visually. It was in that case easier to do it visually. Yeah, because the symbols come up, and if it works, or it must be the right one. Yeah, it's just swing for some right lightly. Big line.
We were sort of horrified if they had admitted those things to us. Because after all, we were officially inverted commas. And they were quite proud of it. We would have thought that had they used such practices, they would have given it quite a bit.
If I had to check with doing the job now you're an experienced engineer. It might not be by the book all the time, like you would train somebody who was new. No, we've been doing this 6 years.
Cullen was stunned by what he was hearing, but there were more revelations to come. The engineer's dangerous approach was becoming clearer by the minute.
You trusted your own knowledge better than their source supervisors. Well, I'm willing to do. I've got 7 people all the time, so I've got 7 people all back in. You're wrong. It's not so. Who trusted that the aircraft would be flying, so therefore they must have been the right ones. Yeah, that aircraft was not ours without this thing.
The whole aim was to take the dark work through their station. They had a lot of work. It was all done at night. In many cases, they had more work than they could reasonably handle. And they had devised little strategies to get around that.
Cullen and the psychologist's insights made their way into the first draft of the report. It said that there were systemic faults in the maintenance procedure in Birmingham. But under pressure from British Airways lawyers, and because they hadn't carried out their investigation following normal procedure, the final report was forced to change its emphasis.
Hour by hour, I mean, the trading solicitor or whoever was advising the branch confirmed under natural law it was unfair to use that information because we hadn't gone through our procedure. And so we had to remove that from the report.
The investigators had never produced an accident report like it. Working with a psychologist, Cullen developed a completely novel way of using human factors to explain why this accident happened. They uncovered pressures in the hangar that caused an otherwise proficient engineer to make potentially lethal mistakes while being certain he was doing the right thing. This psychological approach took air accident prevention to a new level. Through the sheer skill of the crew of BA 5390, as well as a small measure of luck, 87 people are now still alive. As a consequence of this investigation, others may never have to go through the same ordeal. In the aftermath of the accident, the crew were treated as heroes. They received numerous awards, and Alistair Acheson received the coveted gold medal for airmanship. Their colleagues also showed what they felt.
One of the most moving things was to go back to Birmingham. As we walked into the airport, the whole of the airport stopped. And all the ground staff and all the checking girls and all that just stood and applauded as we walked through the building, and it was really quite, moving at the time. We sort of wanted to get out of the way, so I don't really want to do this, like, wasn't it the right trumpet sort of thing?
Their colleagues were applauding a team which had demonstrated the highest form of professionalism at every level. A cabin crew which worked as a team in extraordinary circumstances, and a co-pilot, an outsider who took control and worked alone to bring them all safely down to earth. Each of the crew dealt with their experience in different ways. Tim Lancaster began flying again with BA just 5 months after the accident. He'd retired from BA, but loved flying so much he's now with another airline. He was a special day on that first episode. They decided, that's what's going to do us, and they're going to have to get back to work and get better. So I made a decision. Rest was easy. For Nigel, the man who ran to Tim Bay and held on to him for dear life, the impact